Some people think that they could be as high as third or even second, or maybe even a possible winner in the SEC, and that's the Alabama Crimson Tide. A lot of quality depth with this team. That's what I see when I initially look into this team. Is it's really they have a lot of depth. Dominic Welsh, I mean, a guy that we talk about. I love to talk about over here with my roots at St. Bonaventure. He coming over as well. Possibly he could start or at least be one of those, maybe a six-manner off the bench. Got a couple 5-star recruits coming in. You got another transfer, Mark Sears, coming from Ohio. Nate Oates, I think, finds the right combinations to have success in the SEC. I think that is probably the biggest thing that I take from this squad. They have an opportunity to, I think, when I look at this team, and I see them as high as my third team. I'm really high in Kentucky and Tennessee team. I think I could see them finishing third. I think they're easily a 20-win team, maybe 21, maybe 22 at most. I think they have a nice win-loss differential in the conference. They're going to be a high seed in the NCAA tournament this year, Steve.
Absolutely. And the thing I read 4 different interviews with Oates, and the thing he kept talking about was shot geography, which in essence, what it breaks down to, without going into coach speak or whatever, is that he wants his players to take the shots that the opponents are giving them, rather than feeling if they're behind in a game, they pull up and force a 3-point shot that maybe isn't there. Okay, drive the ball. If they're giving you a lane, drive the ball, and then either dish off once you're in the paint, or carry it up for a layup, or for a dunk going up to the rim. He has been preaching that, and he's been telling everybody that he can in every interview that he feels that this team has learned from last year, that they're not going to force the ball. They're not going to be the team that the other team is trying to make them be. They're going to be their own team. Oates can coach. Oates reminds me a lot of Holloway at Seton Hall, or who was at St. Peter's. And he's very much like, no, you'll play, but you're going to play the way I'm telling you to play. And if you don't play that way, you can transfer, or you're going to sit on the bench and watch somebody else actually take your spot and do it. So of all of the SEC programs, aside from Kentucky and Calipari, which we talked about earlier, where I said I think he's now re-energized, Nate Oates may be the most impactful coach, certainly in conference play, of any of the other SEC coaches. And he is going to win those players over. He's going to win players that are looking to come in through the transfer portal. Okay. If Dominic Welch didn't get a chance to play, he simply just had players that were better than him at the moment at St. Bonaventure. But now he's getting this opportunity, and he's the kind of guy that's already had to be a role player, a guy coming off the bench. So now if you're giving him a chance, I do think he's going to start.
Right.
Giving him that opportunity. And if he executes the system, he can flourish in there. Oates, within the next 2 or 3 years, is going to have Alabama in the Final Four. I honestly believe that, if he can keep recruiting the way he does, if he can get the players to transfer in, and buy into his system, I think the sky is not even the limit for Alabama. I think Alabama is going to be good for a very long time, or as long as Nate Oates would stay there. And why would he leave?
Why would you?
You're a program like Alabama and in one of the elite conferences, this could be a really great story. And if you can find out there, folks, some interviews by Nate Oates and how he talks about the shot geography and things like that, it's fascinating. It's not coach speak. It's not tactical stuff. It is fascinating how he is basically laying out for you what his players are going to do. So you would think you would want to give that little edge to your competition. He doesn't care. He knows that if his players play his system, he is so confident that Alabama is going to be special. He doesn't care if everybody knows it.
You look at their non-conference, and again, no walk in the park. We're going to really see if this team is what we think they can be. They start off with their second game of the year against Liberty, who is a top 100 team in my mind. Michigan State, who might take a step back, but still obviously a good basketball team. We got Houston, Memphis, Gonzaga in a row from December 10th to December 17th. 3 of those games in a 1-week span. That's no walk in the park at all. And then you obviously get Kentucky and Arkansas right off the bat at the beginning of the year when they start conference play. This is no walk in the park schedule by any means, but that's exactly what you want. If you want to prove that you can be one of those top teams and not only in the SEC, but in the nation, I think Alabama's going to prove it. And they're going to show a lot of people this year that they're not just a football school, and I think that we've seen this in years past, especially since Oates has been there. We saw them make it to the first 4 a few years back, and then they really haven't gone away. And this is again one of those years where they're not going anywhere. But I don't think we're going to talk about them being in the first 4 this year. I think we're going to talk about them being a high seed in the NCAA tournament.
And we didn't even mention Brandon Miller yet. Another 5-star recruit. He just lit up all their opponents in their exhibition tour in Europe. Alabama fans are, if you follow their social media, they're just drooling over this kid. He would answer a lot of problems because I don't know how well Alabama might match up in the front court against some more elite opponents. But I mean, if Brandon Miller can translate what he did in these tournaments and in some of the under 18 teams he played on, and he can make an impact right away, great year for the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm saying 22 wins, 21, 22 wins. I think they can find a way to be second, third in the conference, and they're going to have a high seed. With that being said, they're probably going to have a 13, 14 conference win season, and that's a huge win for Nate Oates.